This is Mike.
This is Dave.
And welcome to this edition of the EcomCrew podcast. How's it going, Dave?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited today because we have a big bombshell of a report to drop here. It's funny. We were chatting over the last year about how to do SEO better and just it's a bigger focus for all of our companies. And so one of the things that you can do is do original research and data. And that's exactly what we've done here. And so we have a new report that we put a lot of time and energy into. And this can be a good lesson for all of your e-commerce brands as well. For instance, for tactical.com, we do this annual report now that is the best states in the country to live in, ranked if you're a prepper, for instance. And so we have this, original research data that we put together for that. I always point to Andrew Darian's thing over at e-commerce Field, the State of the Merchant. Jungle Scout does something. And so now we've done something too to help kind of get more credibility and get backlinks for EcomCrew. So maybe take a few minutes to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, number one, this is obviously a hope that we're going to generate a lot of backlinks, but it's actually something that's driven out of a lot of self-interest as sellers too. So this is a consumer research report basically trying to see what are the factors that make somebody on Amazon want to buy a product compared to another product. So we tracked a whole bunch of different things like, does review count impact the likelihood of a consumer to actually buy a product? Does the actual rating and how high a product is rated, does that impact a consumer's likelihood to purchase? And a bunch of other factors, which we'll get into here. But that was really the goal is, okay, as a seller, I know I have a lot of questions about what is actually impacting customers when they make a decision to buy. And so this survey kind of killed two birds with one stone. Yes, it's a great lead magnet that hopefully gets a lot of backlinks, but also hopefully it helps us out as sellers and obviously the EcomCrew audience too as sellers.
Yeah, and I think the most impactful question here is actually a post-purchase behavior thing. We'll save that one for last because I think it's the biggest, in terms of bombshell. This word gets used a lot these days. But in terms of things that are going to, I think, pique your interest the most, that's definitely the one. So we'll save that to the end. If you are interested in getting the report yourself, you can go to ecomcrew.com/Amazon report. That was a innovative, creative URL that we put together. We obviously have no creativity whatsoever, but ecomcrew.com/Amazon report. And you can download the entire report there. We obviously aren't going to have enough time in this podcast to go over everything. And it's like 12 pages of stuff, and there's a long blog post and everything accompanying with it. You can download it and read it in your own time if you want more than just what we talked about here. But several of the high level things we want to go over on the podcast and talk about them. So without further ado, because I know this is going to take a lot of time, let's dig right into it, Dave.
Sure. And let me give a little bit more context to the teaser too. So the one that we're saving till the end. Over 50% of Amazon consumers admitted to lying about doing this one thing. And this one thing is almost certainly negatively affecting your bottom line as a third-party seller. So we've all had suspicions of this one thing. And this is pretty definitive proof that people are actually doing this thing. So get the gears grinding in your mind a little bit. And we'll save that one for the end to keep you guys engaged to listen to the end so we can pump our stats a little bit. All right.
Or you can just fast forward to the end.
No, don't do that.
Oh, don't do that. Okay, don't do that.
Oh, now you gave away the cheat code. All right, forget people listening. Forget that you heard that. Let's get into the first question here. And we're timing this report to be released right on Prime Day. And so the first question that we asked is, what's the most important kind of buying holiday for you? Is it Prime Day or is it Black Friday / Cyber Monday? And any ideas what the percentage of people who voted Prime Day as their top buying holiday, Mike?
Well, this isn't fair. I've already looked at the report.
Oh, okay. Well, again, pretend that you did not hear that or see that.
Going into this, I would have said, I actually don't remember the number, quite frankly. I do remember looking at it, but I would have said 2/3, 1/3. 2/3 of people care more about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and 1/3 Prime Day. I forgot again what the exact number was for the results, but that would have been what I would have thought going into it.
All right. Well, clearly you still remember because you're almost exact to a T. So 59% of respondents chose Black Friday / Cyber Monday as the shopping holiday in which they're more likely to spend more money. And 29% of people chose Prime Day. So, despite all of the marketing push that Amazon puts into Prime Day, Black Friday and Cyber Monday are still by far the most important shopping holiday of the year for e-commerce merchants.
Yeah, and this makes a lot of sense to me. Again, when I looked at the data of this report, when I was reading the questions beforehand and then after, looking at the results afterwards, and that's been a couple of months now or several weeks since I've looked at the data, so I don't really remember that clearly. But anyway, I kind of went into it with like this preconceived notion of like what the answers would be, and most of the questions aligned with those, but there were several that were like, wow, I can't believe the answers here. This one was more kind of in line. I mean, I think about, at least people in the United States, there's such a frenzy around Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And there's also a big frenzy about people buying gifts for other people, which is mostly what people are spending money on those, Black Friday, Cyber Monday things, or, for Christmas gifts or Hanukkah gifts or December type gifts for all the different holidays. And I don't know. I just kind of expect that because it's ingrained in American culture to be bigger than a made up holiday that Amazon's made in the middle of the summer. The fact that they've got it to even 1/3 is amazing to me. It's kind of impressive that it is that important. And I think a lot of people on Prime Day are buying things for themselves. It's so removed from the December holidays that I would imagine that a lot of it is there. But I don't know. For me, like I very rarely buy anything on a Prime Day deal. I'm not the typical American. I'm not the consumer hungry, got to have a bunch of crap laying around the house person. A lot of people, the consumerism has become a big thing in the U.S. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Impressive job, Amazon, for getting it that high.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how you describe Prime Day as this falsely constructed fake holiday in the middle of the summer, but Cyber Monday. I didn't realize that's like a legitimate religious holiday.
Well, I mean, it's not. It's people. It's kind of like the kickoff to the I'm going to buy stuff for Christmas season, right? And it's obviously, without question, Black Friday, Cyber Monday is not a holiday. It's the fuse that's been lit to start the consumerism, like we got to buy gifts parade for Christmas and for any of the other holidays. And so, yeah, obviously those are not real holidays. It's timed perfectly with I need to get someone a gift for my office pole or from my uncle or whoever other people that you got to buy gifts for. I'm a bad Black Friday and Cyber Monday shopper. We buy very little gifts for people because I'm just not a big fan of just buying to buy.
Yeah, we all know you're a Grinch. That's okay.
I am a Grinch.
Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so the question here was, what is the most important factor when deciding to buy a product or not? So we gave people a few different options. This was simply what's the most important factor? It wasn't a ranking question like, hey, order these from the most important to the least important. It was simply asked, what is the most important factor? And the choices we gave people are number 1, good price. Number 2, number of reviews. Number 3, good star rating. Number 4, high quality photos. And number 5, fast shipping. And those were the 5 choices that we gave people.
This
so again, I know
I actually don't remember the answer. I have seen it, but I honestly do not remember the answer in this. Well, I have to believe it's between price and the review. Man, there's 2 review things there. There's review count, and then there's the star rating itself. I'm still going to go with price, although the thing that's interesting here, maybe a topic for another day. We have talked about this quite a bit on the podcast, actually, in terms of our profitability. We've been raising prices quite a bit, and it hasn't mattered as much. And so I'm not as sure about my answer as I might have been a few months ago, but I'm still going to go price because I think that people, at the end of the day, at least when they're consciously thinking about it and ask that question, I'm going to have to believe that they think that price is the most important thing.
So you were right. 52% of people ranked good price as the most important factor when they're making a purchase decision. And this goes in line with what we can see just in the search results. So we've done some other studies of this too, looking at the average price of a top 3 listing compared to all the other listings. And typically a top 3 listing is significantly cheaper than the other listings. And that shouldn't be a surprise to most people. I think just like you, Mike, I think you just kind of intuitively knew that good price is the most important thing. And it's a bit disheartening because price obviously is inversely related to margin, and lower prices means lower margins. But it obviously is the case here, and pretty dominantly as the number one answer to here, 52%. And then the other factors are kind of evenly spread for the most part.
What is number
The other
two?
thing, well, and here's what I'm going to put to you too. So there's two review questions here. Is good star rating or number of ratings more important? What would
I
you
mean,
say
it's a
is more
combination of
important?
both, but I really feel like because the way that I shop, when I see 8,000 reviews or something, I give it so much more credibility than if it's got 10 reviews and 5 stars. So I'm going to say the number of reviews.
And you are incorrect on this
Mm,
go. So the most important thing is the actual star rating. And for me, again, I've obviously seen the results here, but if I was going to pick this out of the blue, I would have said good star rating is more important than the number of reviews, just because I know myself as a consumer, I would much rather purchase a 5 star, 10 review product than a 3 star, 1 million review
right.
product.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to go back and break this question out a little bit more. One of the things that I've discovered on a personal level is I think that there's kind of a relationship here with all of this where, okay, yes, price is the number one factor for people. I believe that. I actually think that that's damn accurate data and response. It makes perfect sense. I also think that people will allow there to be some price creep when they factor in other things, like if it looks really good, and over the, let's just say your product's $1 or two more than the other guy, but your listing looks really really good, and you have 8,000 5 star reviews, and the other product is 54 star reviews and doesn't look as good. I do believe that people are willing to pay a little bit more for the quote unquote higher quality, the perceived higher quality thing. So they might go into it with price being like I'm looking for the cheapest thing, and then make a secondary decision of, what, I'm willing to pay an extra dollar for this other product because it just looks better, and they're making a decision quickly in our price point range of like $15. So it's like, all right, I'll pay 16 and get our our product over the other guy. And this, I don't know, when I look at the data, real world data of what we've been able to do this year in increasing prices, I think that those things add up and are true.
Yeah, my opinion is that it's very difficult to be the highest price item and be a number one listing
Yeah.
for a particular search term. I do think it's possible to be a top 5 listing and be significantly higher priced than the competition. And a lot of times you're better off being number 4
Yep.
and being way higher priced than number 1, who's
100%.
selling at basically the rock bottom, potentially even negative ROI territory.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with this. I mean, we've seen our sales in terms of number of units drop a little bit by raising our prices, but our profitability has increased so much. And I'm just totally over trying to put up that top line number. As we always talk about, revenue is vanity and profit is sanity, and that definitely rings true. And so there's just obviously a lot of things to think about when pricing your products or thinking about things on Amazon. But I think it is important to know that it sounds like the average person, or more than the average person, more than 50% of people are thinking about price as their number one factor when buying, which makes sense.
Okay, well, let's continue on this trend of reviews. And the
Okay.
next one we looked at is basically we compared two groups. We showed one group an item with 30 reviews, and we showed another group an item with the exact same item, but with 1,000 plus reviews. So I think it was like 1,400 reviews or something. And comparing these two items, so again, we had two groups. Basically, 150 people showed this one item with 30 ratings, and another group shown the exact same item, but with 1,300 or 1,400 ratings. And we found there was absolutely no difference in the likelihood to purchase from group A that was looking at the item with 30 ratings to group B looking at the item with 1,000 plus ratings.
That blows my mind.
This was one of the more
Yeah.
surprising results, I think, in the entire survey.
That literally, I don't remember even looking at that one. The one at the end that we kind of plugged was the one that I really just remember the data on. The other ones I gave a cursory glance to. I don't remember even looking at this question. And this is my mind is blown, and I'm sitting here thinking about this as in real time, kind of deciphering this. But man, it makes me question everything that I know about the world because uh, we work so hard, obviously, to have a product that's been around for a long time and has hundreds or thousands of reviews. It does seem to matter, but it might be one of these things where maybe it matters anecdotally or some other reason. There was this funny survey that they did, or back in World War II. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Dave, of like bombers that return and like where their bullet holes were, and uh, they were like looking at like where they needed to like reinforce planes, maybe, or just like kind of the statistics of this. And they were looking at hundreds of planes that came back and where these bullet holes were. And what they realized, I guess, much later was that they weren't evaluating the ones that they really should have been evaluating, which were the planes that weren't coming back. Right. And so you start thinking about like we need to make a decision based on these planes are coming back and where the bullet holes are and where maybe we're most susceptible or whatever. And, you're looking at the wrong group of data because the planes that didn't return are the ones that were really the ones that were the most vulnerable, and where they got shot at were most vulnerable. And so maybe it's just in my head, really, at the end of the day, that the number of reviews is just a byproduct of having a product for a long time in the number 1, 2, or 3 spot where you're selling large numbers, and other factors are really what's making you successful. And the number of reviews has very little to do with it. That's what this data kind of reveals. Again, blows my mind. It's hard to ignore the data. I mean, we interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, and the data's pretty sound. What was the breakdown in terms of percentages here?
Well, it's a little bit hard to compare, right? Because it's a rating question saying, okay, what's the likelihood of you to purchase this product? And the group is showing the product with 30 ratings,
Right.
and another group is showing the same product and basically giving that same question. What's the likelihood of you to purchase this product? So
Okay.
it's not as easy to compare. That's where somebody has to look at the report too. This is one of the things that's a little bit hard to convey on the podcast. So check out the report, and you can see the full breakdown of all the questions and all the data with them.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a great question. I love this one.
I mean, at first I was surprised by this, and then I thought, for all these questions, I go back to my own purchasing behavior, and I thought about it. And, the number of ratings doesn't really impact me all that much on the vast majority of purchases that I make. Now, obviously, if something's a little bit higher price, maybe I'm a little bit more discriminatory on how many reviews or ratings there are. But overall, I'm looking at the price most importantly. Like if I'm just buying some printer paper, I'm just looking at price first, and then I want to make sure that their overall rating is okay. But like if I'm buying printer paper, I don't really care if it has 30 reviews or 3,000 reviews. So in hindsight, the answers kind of made sense, actually.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. My mind was so blown from when you dropped this on me to begin with. It's going to take me a little while to kind of, shift my opinion a little bit. But what you're saying makes sense. I mean, and maybe what I was saying in terms of cause and effect or whatever, maybe the number of reviews has actually got much less to do with than I thought.
Okay, moving on to another important factor that a lot of sellers consider, and that's badges. So again, we had a very similar methodology here where we showed different groups the exact same product. Some of them had badges, some of them didn't. So I believe the badges that we tested were the bestseller badge, no badge at all, and the Amazon Choice badge. And again, results are a little bit surprising here, where we found no statistical difference on whether a product had a badge or not and the likelihood to actually buy.
This one definitely conflicts with data that I've seen on my end. When we have Amazon Choice terms, it seems to make a big difference.
I will say this, actually, I'm going to cut you off there a little bit.
No worries.
Does it affect the conversion rate, or does it affect the likelihood to click through to a listing from search results? I would definitely say yes, it's going to affect click through, but how about conversion rate when they actually are on that page?
I don't have that data, so I'd have to go back and look. I can just say that there's been big terms over the years where we've had Amazon Choice and we haven't. And I can only, off the top of my head, know of just the terms of sheer number of sales. And so sheer number of sales seems to be higher when we have Amazon Choice and or the bestseller badge. The bestseller badge also is effective. We have seen several times when we've launched a new product that has done well, where we get that new number one bestseller badge. I think that lasts for 30 days, or maybe it's 90. I've forgotten the exact timeline. But when that goes away, it's painful. Like, we definitely know the difference. And so it's a product that, like, yeah, we're the new number one bestseller, but we have no chance of being the number one bestseller in the category, and we know that going into it. But yeah, it's definitely a bad day when that clock runs out, and so it does seem to make a difference. I mean, as you said, though, it could just be surely people click on it more because the badges are hard to ignore. Like, they are definitely eye candy in terms, and mouse candy. Like, it gets the mouse to kind of gravitate right towards it, and your eyes to gravitate right towards it, and so it might be that more than anything. And Amazon's not stupid. I mean, they put those there for a reason, because they're just trying to get people to convert and buy as quickly as possible and spend money as quickly as possible and definitively as possible. And these types of badges have really helped that for them. There's some other programs like the editorial program and a few other things that they've done that have really helped with that as well. And so, it just gives people that are on the fence or have hangups about buying one product or the other, that push over the edge to just make the actual final purchase decision. And as you said, when it's printer paper, they're probably going to buy the printer paper no matter what. If they're looking at something higher value, like a TV or whatever it might be, and they're thinking about buying on Amazon or off Amazon, or people, you have a bad habit of just kind of like, I'll look at this tomorrow, and then they just like never end up getting it. And so if there's anything that they can do to really push people over the edge, I think it does help with that. I guess, but again, more interesting data, like just share, if you're just looking at the products, is it going to, do people think that it's going to help them make a different decision? Maybe not as much.
Yeah. And I think for the next year's version of this report, somehow being able to track this on the actual search results page compared to just the product detail page, that I think would be very interesting, because further to your point, that badge is eye candy 100% on the search results page, where you really only have 3 or 4 different factors in each individual listing. You have the price, you have the photos, you have the review, and then you have that badge. So definitely that could be a really big factor in clicking through. On a product detail page, there's a million things going on that page. And probably, as this research kind of shows, that badge kind of gets ignored amongst all the other things going on the product detail page. But definitely for next year, I think evaluating this on the search results page, also as well as the product detail page, that would definitely be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's wrap up here. We got 2 more questions. And again, there's a bunch more if you go to EcomCrew.com/Amazon report. But let's wrap up here with 2 more, including the teaser that we'll do here after this one. Okay, the question was, do you check if the product in the search results page is sponsored or not before you click on it? And this was a simple yes or no question. And so again, Mike, putting on your little mind reader hat, what do you think the percentage of respondents who said yes is when asked if they check to see if a listing is sponsored before they click on it?
I don't remember the answer to this one, so I'm definitely being honest in that I don't know what the actual answer is. Man, I have to imagine that more than half of people understand and realize what a sponsored ad is before they click on it at this point. I mean, I think that Amazon does a really good job of doing the bare minimum to identify these ads. And they've gotten really creative.
Putting the affiliate disclosure buried in the footer on a different link.
And we're guilty of this too on some of our sites. I mean, but I have to think it's the majority. I don't know how high. I don't think it's 90% or something. I think that I think that there's a large group of shoppers that are just not tech savvy, that probably don't even realize the difference. And so that's probably a quarter of people right there. I would imagine that they're just completely oblivious to the fact that they even exist. I'm not sure if those are the types of people taking our survey, because they're probably not technical enough to even do that. Maybe they are. But I have to imagine that it's somewhere between more than 50% and pushing 2/3.
So the answer is the number of people who said yes, they checked if a search result is sponsored before clicking on it is 62% and 38% said no.
So 2/3. Yeah. I mean,
2/3.
that's in line. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know, how this. I think you always have these follow up questions, and it's hard to even ask this in a survey because they're nuanced. But okay, they look at whether it's sponsored or not. Now, does that affect their buying behavior?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there any other fallout or fall into that? Or is like when they click a sponsor link, okay, they check it, but like at that point, is it immaterial to them once they hit the product landing page? They just kind of forget about it and move on. Or do they have this thing in the back of their head? Okay, I just clicked the sponsored listing. I need to be like a little bit more careful. It's less trustworthy to them in some way. Things of that nature would be interesting for me to know. But I think it's good. I mean, I'm happy to hear that that a lot of people at least realize that they're sponsored ads or consider it. If for no other reason than I do think that when people there's some percentage of people that before they click on an ad, or at least thinking about the fact that someone's spending money there, and that might be helpful in some way. There's also probably the other side of it where there's like evil people that'll just click it and be like, "Oh, this company, I'm gonna like just waste their money," because that's fun. And so that's always dangerous as well. But the fact that many people are at least aware of it or think about it is good, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know exactly what the fallout is, but I think at the end of the day, I'd rather have them answer that than the other way around.
Yeah, and I think this question would actually be the most interesting to track over time. Because I think if we asked this question 5 years ago, the number of people who said yes would probably be well below half. Because I think the awareness of the fact that advertising even exists on Amazon was way lower than it is now. And I think most people are becoming more and more aware of this. Just like Google Ads way back in the day when Google first rolled out paid advertising on Google, I'll bet you probably 90% of people didn't realize that you could actually pay to have your listing sponsored on Google. And I think the same thing is happening with Amazon. And so I would expect a few years ago, this number would be lower. And if we ask the same question next year and the year after and the year after, we're going to see a continuous trend upwards of people just being more aware of the fact that advertising actually does exist within Amazon.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it would be interesting to see this over time for sure.
All right, let's wrap this up with
one.
The big bombshell.
This one I do know I forgot the percentage, but I do remember being surprised at the answer.
Okay, so the question we asked of people was, let me pull it up here. Have you ever selected a different reason, for example, defective, arrive later than expected, etc., in order to avoid paying return shipping on an item that you purchased? And 54% of people admitted to selecting a different reason for returning an item just for the simple fact of avoiding paying return shipping when they return something on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, this is disgusting. I'm glad that people are honest. And so here's the thing.
Again, 54% of people are honest.
Yeah,
46% of people lied.
Exactly. Well, I've actually never done it. I don't know. I'm the honest guy.
Have you ever returned anything on Amazon, or do you leave it to your wife?
No, I return stuff. I mean, it's very rare. We very rarely return. Like we're the best type of consumer for any e-commerce company or Amazon included. We just we have crap that we've bought, and very rarely does it get returned. And they make it so easy. We just drop it off at the Whole Foods or Kohl's around the corner and don't pay shipping or anything anyway to return it. But regardless, I should like to be trustworthy when answering that question. I don't. Okay, without question, the 46% of people that said no, a lot of them are lying, or they don't even realize that they did it when they did it, and just kind of they make an excuse in that moment to just do it. I don't think it's everyone, but it's the percentage is way higher than I thought, and it really just makes me. It's just so difficult because you there's nothing we can do about it, right? Like it's not like we're going to stop selling on Amazon because of this, but we're the ones paying for it, right? When people return it with the wrong answer or whatever, Amazon is charging you, and or they put it into when they do something like saying that it's defective, as a for instance, that really hurts you because that goes into when it goes into
Yes.
returns, it gets disposed of basically, or you have to take
Mhm.
it back, and or it can
And
eventually suspend your listing, and you got to like deal with this.
yeah,
Um,
the NCIX scores, right? It's more impactful than the actual return shipping
yeah,
costs themselves.
yeah, um, and so yeah, it's unfortunate. It's frustrating. We have had listings suspended on a number of occasions. One time it happened actually literally like on the day of my grandmother's funeral. It was so frustrating. I was just like so disgusted because like it was our number one product and they shut it down and I had like no choice but to stop what I was doing and call Amazon and deal with it like the day of her funeral. And it was just like the last thing I wanted to be doing. I was pretty close to my grandma and, families all together. And it's obviously like a really sad day. And here I am having to deal with this Amazon issue. And it was like someone returned it because they said that new cost of used thing. So like they claimed that they got a used product when they had purchased a new one. And that's one of the reasons you can put as a return. And we know that that's not possible. Like we send in brand new products. Like, I mean, we're not selling anything used as new. Like that's not even something we would ever consider doing. And the thing that's frustrating is that like this, again, it's our number one selling product. So we're selling a couple hundred units of this every day for 5 years. So we're talking about 100,000 or more units sold or a 250,000, whatever the hell that works out to. It's a big number. And, one or two people, there's always variance, like one or two people in a short order click that button and boom, Amazon shuts it down. Guilty till proven innocent thing. And I don't know how this happened. I have to give Amazon credit in this particular day. Like when I called and dealt with it, they actually reinstated it like basically immediately
Hmm.
when I talked to them, which I still can't believe. But and then they found that they were wrong. Obviously, that everything is new and everything was fine. But this just goes to show you, again, that's one way you click that radio button versus the other one. Like you click the radio button of like I didn't like it, and then you hit
Yep.
next, and it's like it's going to be $7 to return this, and then you're like, let me click back and click one of these other
Yeah.
reasons, and it's like this is $0 to return this. I like that one way better, and they don't think of the ramifications. And I don't necessarily blame. Like, what would be really interesting is if we ask the follow up question next year of, do you understand the repercussions of you lying about this? Or do you care? Like if there was a couple of extra questions of like, do you understand that you're taking money out of a small business's pocket or that you're potentially affecting their livelihood because you're lying about
Do
the
you
answer to
understand
this?
that you are affecting Mike's ability to live a lavish lifestyle by
That's right.
lying on your return?
That's right. I mean, I got to have my boat and that, here in the middle of the desert. It's important. So,
Well, the two biggest takeaways I have from this is number one, I think as a seller, you basically have to assume that you are paying the return shipping. Like, it's a cost of doing business. And I think you have to factor that into your margins that, if you have 5% returns, then you're also paying the shipping charge on that 5% of products. So it has to be a big metric when you're tracking the profitability of an item. And don't just assume that you're not paying return shipping because as we can see here, the vast majority of people have at least lied at some point in their lives about return shipping.
yeah, no, it's really interesting. I mean, it's really, really interesting. And it's tough for me. I know I can say myself, like I have made returns and it's painful to click the honest answer because you're paying for it. But I try to do the right thing. But I mean, I had to ask Michelle what she's done. We got in an argument once because she returned something that I thought that we shouldn't even have returned at all. It caused a big, like one of our few fights over the last 16 years. Because I always try to think about how I want to be treated. And when you have people doing stuff like this to you all the time, like it's the tendency is to want to do it less. And so, yeah, we got in this big argument. I'll tell you off camera one day. It's a funny story. But,
well, I think you have told me the story, but I will say also we got into this little debate one time where we purchased a competitor's product, and I was hanging out with you, and we had it shipped to your house. I just wanted to see how the packaging was, so we ordered it. No, okay, that's how the packaging is done. And then I said, okay, let's send it back. And you're like, you can't do that. Why would you send this back? And I'm like, well, Mike, we didn't use it. It's still new. Just send it back. And you were on the one end where no, that's unethical. And I'm on the end of, well, it's new. And like, I know people buy our products, our competitors, to see how we do it. And, it's not like we're going to pay for the shipping. It's getting sent back in new condition. And there's really no negative on that end to the seller.
I mean, we know that returns affect your. There is a cost to the seller for returns, and it hurts their. I mean, returns are definitely an important factor in terms of ranking. If you have a higher return rate than the next guy, all things being equal, your product won't rank as well. And so, I don't know. I feel like we're doing competitive research on a product. The least we could do is keep the darn thing and not make it a negative for them. We're gonna be coming up against them, competing with them, and making their life difficult from that perspective, which I think is good old fair competition. We're not going to copy them or do anything unethical there. But I don't know. I mean, I am kind of I wouldn't say I'm perfect by any stretch of imagination in life. I mean, I definitely have done things that I'm not proud of, but I try to think twice before doing that type of thing.
Well, I should never tell you my story about when I was 18 and I went to go for a hike and I realized I forgot my pants at home. So I went to the store and I bought a pair of hiking pants. And I went hiking with them for 6 hours and then said, well, I don't need these anymore. And went back to the store and returned them. Not one of my finer moments.
You're 18. I mean, I don't know.
I'm 18. I would not.
So, I mean, if you're doing that when you're 38, that's a different story and no better in life. But
no, I remember my pants now.
Yeah, right. I don't. Well, that's the part of the story that has holes in it. Yeah. Well, hopefully everybody found all that interesting. Again, there's a whole host of other questions. Some really interesting ones, actually. We tried to just do a variety of them here on the podcast. So EcomCrew.com/Amazon report will get you over there. You can download it and read it in your own time if you want. Also want to just thank our team for, it was kind of a team effort to put all this together, from doing the survey to writing the article to putting together the downloadable report. I don't know. I'm just so proud of our folks lately. I mean, it just, the stuff that they've been doing is second to none. And it really just goes to show you that having a great team can produce amazing results. I mean, Dave and I wouldn't have anywhere near enough time to do something like this on our own. I mean, it wouldn't even be, we talk about it, but it would actually never get done if we didn't have the folks that we have. So thank you to everyone for doing that. And yeah, I think that's really about it, Dave. Thanks for coming and talking about this. And until the next one, everyone, happy selling. We'll talk to you soon.